Welcome to Straight from the Muzzle, folks, where we are anything but straight. My name is Space, and I welcome you to Spaced Out, which is the show where I talk about whatever I want, however I want, and of course, I read your emails as well. Pretty much. It's not your typical, conventional episode that you would get from us, where you have, two-sided opinions, laughter, or we rip apart some sort of, species. Yeah, I'm looking at you, mannequins. So, it's just one of those nonchalant episodes. And I haven't done one in quite a while. Actually, let me go take a look. When was the last time I did a Spaced Out? Let's see here. I got to actually go to our website here. Okay, so the last time I did a Spaced Out was in May, and it is October. So that's 6 months. It's been 6 months since I've done one. We did a Fangasms episode, and that was episode 17, and that was about a month or so ago. I do apologize if I'm clearing my throat a lot. I have a dry throat today, so I'm trying to do the best I can here. So it's been a while since I've actually done a full-on Spaced Out episode. So without further ado, updates on my life. Well, okay, so May happened, and then we went to BLFC, and that was total crapshoot. I'm not going to lie. If I thought I had everything put together, it didn't. Everything fell apart. And then after that, I kind of thought I was pumped before I went to BLFC with my therapist and everything. So I was good to go. And then after BLFC, I probably should have gone to the therapist just because, but I didn't. So I actually kind of thought, well, I can do this on my own. No big deal. Okay, rule number 1. When you go to therapy, don't stop going to therapy. Okay. There's a reason why you go. And I am now learning this the hard way. I went to therapy about a week and a half ago, and I have another session coming up this weekend. My therapist oddly does his sessions on Thursdays, Fridays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And he's like, people really need to be heard on the weekends. And I'm like, why the weekends? And he's like, because no one else will, and I want to. And I'm like, oh, that's a really cool attribute. So I like that. So because I didn't go to therapy, I kind of had this mentality and this little piece of advice that, Sparrow gave to me at the con. She's like, just let things roll off your back and just kind of go and take it as it comes, and just deal with it then. And that's what I've been doing, except I've been kind of tweaking that advice. Instead of just letting it roll off my back and dealing with the moment as is, I've been letting it roll off my back. And then instead of dealing with it, I just kind of pushed it to the side. And so I kept doing that for everything that happened. And slowly, the things that got pushed aside started to get trail behind me. And I was dragging a chain, I guess you could say a ball and chain, behind me. And I didn't realize how bad it was because every month that progressed until I went to my therapist about a week and a half ago seemed to have gotten worse for me. And I started to tap out. I wasn't really paying attention to anything. Emails started kind of stacking up. I'm still not that very active in chat as much as I used to be. I've actually become worse in chat. And then Twitter took a hit because I wasn't being active on Twitter because I wasn't being active anywhere else. Then it all kind of boiled down to the end. And one night, I was at game night, surrounded by friends, okay? But for whatever reason, I felt the most alone in that moment. And I was in my own space. When you're depressed, there's all of you out there that deal with this. The situation where you're in a room full of people, but you don't feel like you're in a room full of people. You're in your own plane field or level plane, whatever. And you're sitting there, and the only thing you can think of are the negative effects that are happening to you. You feel alone. You don't feel like anyone cares. No one values you as a person. You don't matter as a person. That's what I was telling myself in that moment. And I was so focused in this one moment that about I want to say an hour, because what happened was we played a game, then a group went upstairs and a group was downstairs, and the group downstairs was playing on their Switches or playing a game of sorts. And then there was a game upstairs playing, what is the game called? It's not Quirkle. It's not Malarkey. Shoot, it's going to bother me now. I want to say it's Shenanigans, but it's not. They were playing a game too. It doesn't really matter. But I was downstairs and I was on the table by myself. So I am just so hyper-focused and kind of crying and sobbing at the same time. And then someone from the group next to me yelled at or kind of mentioned, he's like, hey, Space, are you doing okay? You've been really quiet, which is not you. And I was like, what? And I'm like, yeah, I'm okay. I'm fine. Don't worry about it. And then they went back to do their own thing. So I was totally in the zone, which is something that I don't totally get to until just all of this crap kind of builds up out of nowhere. Even though it's not out of nowhere, it's my own crap that I just haven't dealt with. And so eventually I decided that it's time to go back to the therapist, before things start to take a turn for the worst. And things kind of have taken a turn for the worst, not mentally, but I've started to not care about my weight. And it wasn't until I watched a Nikocado avocado video. If you guys have not seen this guy is ridiculous. Like, he's just ridiculous, and not in a good way. But we were watching a compilation of him freaking out because they're hilarious, but it's so bad. You shouldn't be encouraging this. But I watched it, and there was a part where he was just kind of like, didn't have a shirt on, and kind of was just sitting there almost like, Jabba the Hutt style from Star Wars. And I saw that, and I'm like, oh my God, that's me. That is me. I am that. That's what I look like. And I was so upset with myself because I've gained weight and I become less active and I become more lazy. And because of that, my habits that I'm normally really like routine on have started to break, and I didn't like that. So I went to the therapist, and I felt a lot better afterwards because I was able to verbally vomit everything that's happened to me in the past, few months or so after not seeing him. And I'm going back again this weekend. I still have a few more things to talk about. I don't know if you guys remember from back, I don't even know if it was when we started the podcast or when we were transitioning from Fur Media to Straight from the Muzzle, or if it was just during the Fur Media days. My mom got cancer several years back, and it was non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. It was a branch from that family that had only been really studied a couple of times, and that's it. So there really wasn't much going for her. So she went through experimental chemotherapy, and she came out winning, but it destroyed her immune system, and it just destroyed everything else. And so ever since, whenever she gets sick, I get really worried that it's going to just take her out. Well, sad to say, I got a message about a couple weeks ago. This is pre-visiting the physician. So this was I'll say about 2 weeks ago. I get a message from my mom, and the cancer's back. And I got to tell you, it was rough. I can probably tell you what day it was. It was the 26th of September. That morning, I got the news that my mom's cancer had come back. It's too soon for them to treat with chemotherapy, but we know that it's there. And she used the words or the phrases, we can slow it down, but that's about it. And I'm like, okay, but slowing it down doesn't stop it. What does this mean? And so that morning, it was too much. It was too much emotional baggage, and I just broke down. I could not stop crying because it was just all of the worst things happening at once. But this one was the worst. And this one just broke me mentally. And I wasn't okay for a couple of days because no one wants to hear that their mom's cancer has come back. And she's a little bit older now. I know for a fact that if she were to do chemo again, it would kill her. It would kill her. And that's not something I'm prepared mentally to deal with. But all of those feelings flooded back because I had to watch her go through it the first time around. And let me tell you, it is not easy to see a really strong woman, like just strong in all aspects, go through chemo and come out and just be like frail. And there were times where I had to say to myself, there's a chance she's going to die, and you got to prepare yourself mentally for this, but you got to be strong for her too. And that's really hard. Imagine trying to be strong for yourself, but to be strong for someone else. It's so hard, and it took a lot out of me. So to have that come back, it was really difficult. I talked to my therapist and I said, what do I do? How do I prepare for this? Do I just, make every moment last and make it just the most memorable thing ever? Or do I really try to prepare myself for the inevitable that she's going to pass away soon? So I got news back yesterday. Let me grab my text here because I'm pretty open about things in my life. So she said she got some depth, so DEPTH, blood work to see how active the cancer is, and the test came back very minimal. Yay. but he wants to do a CAT scan and then another blood drawn in about 2 months. So either way, it's kind of like a miracle, but it's still pretty much there. We know the cancer is back, but it's just how long until it starts to ravage her again. So we've got a couple of months. Hooray! So we kind of just have to deal with it that way. And she really kind of emphasized that she wants the holidays to really be just as wonderful and joyful as possible. So I've kind of decided that we'll celebrate what we can. Every moment that I have with my mom, we'll make it last. And whatever thing that I have, like a grudge that I have, she's not perfect. She's not going to agree with everything that I'm going to agree with or have opinions on. I'm just going to let those go away because those don't matter anymore. What matters is the moments and making memories so that when something does happen, I have those memories to rest back on. And so that's what my piece of advice today before I go into emails is if you know there's bad news ahead, don't take it for granted. And it sounds really stupid, but truly don't take it for granted. Because the last thing you want to happen is bad news comes knocking at the door and you're not ready for it. So make every moment last. Even if you don't agree with your parents or you hate them or something, if it's someone that you love in your life, don't take it for granted. Really make every moment worth it because that's really what's going to matter in the end is making those memories and being with people that you love. So, all right, let's go ahead and go into emails. So we've got about 11 emails. I'm going to try to go through them as quick as possible, but also not quick as possible because I don't want to rush it. So we're going to go in chronological order. So we're going to start with this email. And I do apologize. I don't really read emails that great. In fact, I kind of wonder if I even have a bit of dyslexia because I do say words that I mix up. And I also read words that aren't really technically there. And I do mess up a lot when I'm speaking by reading of. So I'm pretty sure I have dyslexia, but I have to go get that diagnosed somehow. I don't really know how. I've been Googling it, but I don't know. I'll talk to my physician about it. So first email comes from Alexander Clary, and this is what they have to say. Hello, I emailed a while back and I wanted to give you an update and run over the basics a bit. Good afternoon. My name is Alexander Clary. I am an 18-year-old novice furry. I've been listening to the show since I've entered the fandom at 15. Holy shit. I mean, that's actually really cool. I love it. My persona is a black lab named Apo. This is not part of the email, but I'm not sure if it's Oppo, as in like O-P-P-O. It's spelled A-P-P-O. So I'm just going to say Apo, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing it right. Everyone pronounces words differently. So my persona is a black lab named Apo. He is smart, strong, humble, and bisexual. I wanted to share that with you. Listening to your podcast has given me a sense of self and greatness I've never felt. Listening to your podcast has helped me accept that I am a furry and I am bisexual. I play many instruments and mix music, and as I said it before, I'm willing to make music for you all. Ooh! Okay, we could totally need that because we need an intro so bad. We'll go into there in a minute. If you want an example of sorts, I have a SoundCloud. You can go follow me at Apo the Lab. I also have a suggestion for the show. It's about going over the more unrecognized furry artists out there. I have another suggestion as well. As you may know, there is something called micronation. I've heard of it, but I'm not quite sure what it is. They're all over the place. I'm sitting chancellor for the state of Titania in the CFSE. So C as in cat, F as in Frank, S as in Sam, E as in Edward. There are plenty of furry nations out there or furry rulers you could speak of. I love your guys' show and I can't wait to hear from your next episodes. If you ever get on VR chat, either by mouse and keyboard or Oculus, I'm Alexander D. Great. I hope this letter finds you a good time. Okay, lots to unpack here. Not really, but there's a few things. So first off, I pay for a service called, you'd think I'd know my own service that I pay for. Let me actually look here. Bum, bum, bum. Okay, well, I pay for a service for sound. Oh, Tune Pocket. I use Tune Pocket. And so I have to pay in order to use like their introductory music. And it's not all the greatest. Like I have like an idea of what I want it to sound like, but I've never really been the one to go out and let's say commission someone for it. But I'd like to do like a fun, simple intro for every episode. I'd like to do one that's specific to Spaced Out in general. And I think it'd be great to have a furry be behind that because this is a show about about furries for furries, and it's made by furries. So what better than to have, an introduction or music made by a furry that then be integrated into a podcast that they love listening to. So that's pretty cool. I am very much interested in going over more unrecognized furry artists out there. So if you're a furry artist out there, or artists out there that don't get the attention that the more popular ones do, please let us know. So email me at talktothemuzzle@gmail.com with subject line unrecognized furry artists. And then kind of list out a few, and I can go and do my research, or you can add us on Twitter at From the Muzzle and then type in, hey, I've got a unrecognized furry artist for you guys to look at. I'd be more than happy to do that. I love researching. It's probably one of my favorite things to do, especially at work, is like researching. And then the last thing is I'm very, very curious about micronations. I'm going to be definitely Googling this after my recording, and I very much want to know all about all of this. So I'm going to respond back to them and ask them about a couple of things. But again, I want to thank Alexander Clary for sending in your email, and I just think it's just great that you sent me this, and I have lots of questions for you. All right. The next email comes from, we're going to say Furryx because they don't specify their name in here, and I don't want to read their email name just out of respect and privacy. But it says, hey guys, I'm a pretty new furry. My 1-year anniversary will be on November 11th. Hooray. And I've been looking for a good furry podcast. After looking for a while, I found your guys's, and oh my gosh, I love it. I love how you guys go on little tangents and have like off-topic conversations. I'm guilty. There are a lot of people who bash me for being a furry, but listening to your guys' voice is like a breath of fresh air, and I hope you guys are doing well. Stay possum. So we do hear a lot about this. We do hear that people love our little like side tangents, and they love how we do our podcasts. I'm going to go ahead and say that there are two types of podcasts out there. There are those who script things out or premeditated responses. And then there are others like myself and other furry podcasts out there that don't do that. And they kind of just have a set of notes, but they don't necessarily follow those notes to a T. And we have personality. We may like do a couple of retakes. You guys never hear that. I mean, you may never hear us say pickle because that is our like safe word for cut this out. Let's try again. But each time we do that, it's a different response. It's never the same thing. And, it's unique. It should be unique and like one of a kind. And I think that's what's unique about our episodes and our podcast is that we're unique. We are different. We don't do what the typical podcaster would do. I almost want to say we kind of want to go against everything. We don't take things seriously, and then we do take some things seriously. And you've heard those topics, those hard topics that no one wants to talk about. We're game to go for that. We're not afraid to speak our minds. We're not afraid of Poppy First saying this or that or the other, because everyone should have their own opinion. And that is the kind of free world that I love listening to and being in. So thank you, Listener X, for emailing us. All right, our next one is so this upcoming email here is from, I don't know what their actual name is. It's from a previous Spaced Out or Fangasm email where we read, and this person sent in some art, and we thought it was really cool, and I thought it'd be really cool if they sent more art, but I don't have that attached to a chain. So I'm just going to go ahead and say, we're going to call this Furryx. They sent us 2 pictures. Well, they sent us 3 pictures. They sent me one just recently, but I have a question about some of the art that's in there, and I don't want to necessarily publicize it without knowing the details first. So the first one is, it's a Sergal and a dragon. The Sergal is Fade and the dragon is Drago. So it's really cool art. I'll post this in the episode so you guys can see that. I'll do a link from, oh my God, what is it called? I cannot think today. Whatever. I'll put a link in there. You can follow that, and then that'll give you like a board you can take a look at. So thank you for sending that in. You know who you are. All right. The next one comes from a furry by the name of Argonite. They say, hello, I've been listening to your podcast for a while now and thought it would be time to send a little love. So like I said, I've listened to your show for roughly a month, and ever since I found it, I couldn't get enough. See, I'm struggling right now with reading. Save me. I love the energy your community gives off as soon as I press that start button. The stories are great. The hosts are spectacular. I especially love the fact that you listen to your consumers and care about what they say. So all in all, thank you and keep at it. You're sure as hell doing a better job than most of the people anyways. Thank you, Argonite. Thank you so much. We really do care. I mean, you email in and we read your emails out loud for other people to hear because there are going to be people who are just like you who don't necessarily have a voice, or I guess you could say the confidence to speak up. So to hear something from another person may actually give them the confidence to speak up and then email or say something. So it's good to have you guys send us those messages. We also have a Telegram group. I'll link that in below. People have said the link doesn't work, but I've clicked on the link and it works. So maybe I'll try refreshing the link and then reposting it. But there's about 109 members in there now. It's pretty steady. It doesn't mean 109 people talk all the time. I want to say about any given time, maybe 20 people are active in that chat. But the thing is that chat is for everyone. Now, obviously, if you're a really young furry, it might be a little bit different. You may get offended. Try not to take offense in the chat. It's just a fun chat to meet people, to talk, make friends, and kind of just grow as a person. This is a safe space for people to be in, and we have an active bot in there that will kick people if it seems suspicious or malicious. And we also have Dear Dog, who's pretty good at figuring out who's not a real person and who is a real person, and she'll even kick them out, and then she'll message me saying, hey, I kicked someone. So it's a good group. I recommend it. If you don't have Telegram, or maybe you got to wait until you're a certain age, I'm not sure what the circumstances for you. It is worth it, and I recommend it. If not, email works just as well. Oh, I've got a smudge on my glasses. Oh, it drives me nuts. Tell me this. Okay, I got to know. Like, for everyone out there who wears glasses, can you just roll with it and deal with the smudges on your glasses? Because I cannot. I carry a cleaning cloth with me wherever I go. And I'm constantly cleaning my glasses because I can't stand smudges, little specks of dirt, or hairs that like fall onto it. Oh, it's the worst. Okay, next email comes from Zephyr Wolf. I think you guys have probably heard from Zephyr Wolf before because we've read them. I believe we read this email on a Valentine's Spaced Out episode, or at least I did. So this is what they have to say. Hey, it's Zephyr, he, him. Last time I emailed y'all, I think it was around January. I think you guys responded to it in the Valentine's Spaced Out episode. Anyways, thought I'd send a friendly email. So I'm now in my senior year of high school. So that sounds more or less that they're in the United States. Because United States goes, well, it really depends on what state you're in. So in California, just in general standard, it goes kindergarten through 6th grade. And then it's off to junior high, which is 7 and 8. And then over to high school, which is 9, 10, 11, 12. And then there are 4 stages of that. So at the beginning is a freshman. You got a sophomore for your second year. 3rd year is junior, and then 4th year is senior. So I don't know why I told you all that, but you know, sometimes people don't know, especially if you're outside of the country. It may sound kind of wonky to you. Anyways, let's see. I will be 18 in January. So that's going to be next year, 2023. I'm taking a vet certification class, which basically means at the end of the year, I will get a certification to be a veterinarian assistant. Oh, good for you. I'm going to apply for a vet clinic here in town to get my hours in. I'm pretty excited about that. Meanwhile, about the furry side of things, I updated my Sona. He is more unique and has some cheek markings. On the last email I sent you, you said to reach out to new furries here in Montana, and I found out that there is around a whopping 60 here. That's great. That's really great. I'll be going to my first furry convention here soon in the state. One of you won't know it. It's funny because both of us won't know it. I went to my first convention as well, MissCon 2022. I'm also currently working on a fursuit head and going to be making a partial. Any tips? So Sparrow is the one to ask questions regarding fursuits. So I will send her this email where I'll have her look at it and then kind of give any tips that she may have. We're also going to be recording later on this week. So if needs be, I can ask her a question. Then again, it won't be coming out relevantly soon. So I'll just have her email me or telegram me some tips, and then I will just respond back to you with those tips. A few more things. Sorry this is so long, but I'm working on an album and we'll be posting my music on YouTube. The channel is Zephyr Wolf, in case you're interested. I have some music for a video game a friend is working on. And lastly, I'm working on a podcast and was wondering if you had any tips and maybe we could record an episode sometime. Thanks everybody and have a wonderful day. See you around like a donut. It's funny. I do have tips for podcasting. There's a lot of tips though. That's the thing. So if you ever want to just chit chat, we can definitely do that. I think it's impressive that you're produced an album or going to produce an album and then you're doing some music for a friend who's working on a game. I'm assuming it's probably going to be an indie game just because, well, actually, I don't know, but I'm just going to go and assume it is just kind of like, a localized, simple but difficult game of sorts. I'm not sure what MissCon is. I probably could Google it, but I'm not going to. And the furry convention, I'm not sure if it's MissCon that's the furry convention or if there's a furry convention in Montana that I just don't know about. Let's see, a little bit to unpack here. I would be more than happy to come on to your podcast and talk about whatever you want to. You can interview me if you want to, or we can just talk about an episode of your choice. Totally up to you. In fact, just kind of giving this out there, if you guys run your own podcast and you want me to come onto your show, I'd be more than happy to. You can interview me if you want to, or you can pick a topic and we can both discuss it. Whichever pleases you, go for it. I'd be more than happy to come on. I think it's fun to go on and, experience other podcasts and kind of just, give them a shout out and say, hey, listen to these guys. You're pretty cool. There's no monetary value gain here. The only gain that you get is friendship and love. Anyways, thanks, Zephyr, for emailing in. Our next email comes from Furryx. Hey, where do I find Protogen half fursuits? I've been looking for one for about a month. Protogen fursuits are kind of hard to find. I think there's only a couple of makers out there. Let me see if I can find one. I'm actually going to Google this now. Let's see. If I can spell Gen fursuit makers. Okay, so it looks like there's one, Tycho Wolf Protogens. There's also another person by the name of techhenzy.com. I can list these in the email for you. So it looks like there's a couple of different ones, but we're going to go with Tycho Wolf just to kind of see what their pricing is. I know with Protogens, here's the thing. With Protogens, you're going to be looking at electronics. And if there's anything more expensive in this world, it's electronics. So I'm wanting to see here. Oh, this is the poor choice of color. They use like this weird bluish background. And so they have really good blacks and whites and bolds, but then they decided to put their starting price in bright green. And if anyone knows, bright green is not a great choice to use on a website. I don't care what site it is. Well, I mean, I guess that's not really much to say because we use bright green on ours, but we have it contrasted so you can actually see it. And it's not just like, blam, bright green in your eyes. So for a Protogen head, it looks like it starts at 2,200 plus. And that's for all of I guess they only do heads. Is that what it looks like? I think it's just that they do heads. Huh. Okay, maybe I'll want to go back and see what the other one was because I want to be able to give you a good enough answer before I move on to the next email. I'm human. Oh my God, I hate these. Please click an image, each containing a horse. Horse. Ugh, another one. Horse. Hooray, I'm verified. Okay, let's see if they've got a pricing bin here. Oof. That's expensive. It's cheaper though. So I think they make their own actually, which is really interesting. I'm not sure what to really say for Protogen half suits. I'm going to say it's going to be a little expensive. We'll just go ahead and say that. You're probably looking at anywhere between $800 to about $3,000. And that goes for maybe a fursuit head and a tail. But I'm not quite sure how the whole fursuit full pricing, half fursuit pricing works out. That's going to need some more research. Okay, moving on. Our next email comes from Clover. Hi, I'm a newer furry and I'm kind of young. I'm in the middle of listening to your Young Furries episode. I just want to say I love the podcast. As someone who has strict parents and can't have TikTok, YouTube, etc., it's hard to catch up on the current trends of the fandom. I find your podcast calming and very funny. Love y'all. Have a fantastic day. Don't mind my Gmail. It's old. I don't care. An email's an email. It doesn't really matter. Sincerely, Clover. I am going to be making a pitch about Young Furries at the end of this episode, so do not click out of this. Listen to the episode in full and then hear about what I have to say about Young Furries because I do want to get your opinions, but I'll tell you how to do that in a little bit. All right, thanks, Clover. Moving on. Okay, I'm going to go with Furryx on this person. I'm sure you get a lot of emails and probably won't see this, and I'm okay with that, but I just wanted to email you. I listened to your depression in the fandom videos. Oh, Oh, from For Media, from YouTube. Oh, that's been so long ago. And I'm now starting to listen to your podcast in order on Spotify. And I love your podcasts. I'm a huge fan of music, but when I go on runs, I choose your podcast over music. Anyways, I just wanted to talk to you. And if you ever wanted to refer me in a video or a podcast, which I'm assuming you won't, then I'm fine with not being anonymous. But in this case, they are kind of anonymous. So anyways. So Furryx, you will know who you are just because you'll recognize your email being read. I think it's great. And I do remember the Depression of the Fandom videos that we used to do as For Media on YouTube. That was so long ago because the opinions of that have changed. A lot of the opinions that I want to say from the videos that we've done have changed or are at least updated. And so I do plan on doing updated episodes of existing episodes in video form. I know it sounds a little weird, but if you go to YouTube and you type in Straight from the Muzzle or For Media, you should be able to pull up our account and then you can see all the different videos we created before we turned into a podcast. So thanks for emailing in. And I did read it. Okay, next email. Oh, I won't read this one out into detail, but I will just go ahead and let you all know. So in one of our earlier episodes when we were first starting out, I mentioned that if you ever needed help finding a furry group near you or just furries in general within your community, I'm always willing to help. And so someone actually did reach out and they did ask for help. And I did provide some help and I'm working on it still just because they're in kind of in an area that is controversial political wise. And so it's kind of hard to find a good group of people that will accept you regardless. I'm not saying that all furry groups are not like that, but I just want to be careful and I want to make sure that the information that I give is top notch and it will just do them a service. So I am kind of still actively working on that. So if you ever have questions like you're newer, you're a young furry, but you want to get involved in your local group, whether that's on Facebook or Twitter or Fur Affinity or even amino apps. I don't really know much about amino apps, but I know that it's there. Just go ahead and send us an email and then I'll get in contact with you and I'll ask you a few questions so that way I can better, create an outcome or results that really cater to you because each email is catered to that person and not just like a general broad, email. It's very specific to the person themselves. Okay, next up we got from Argentum. Just want to thank you all for giving me the confidence to be myself. I've been listening for about a week now, but I can't stop. Love you guys so much. Please keep up the amazing content. Thanks for your time, Argentum. And then they even gave us pronunciations on how to say it. So you're very welcome. And thank you for emailing us. I very much appreciate it. Okay. Our last email comes from someone by the name of Polly. And then just to kind of give you just a heads up, the person's name who's Polly has no reference to poly relationships. It's just what they call themselves. So kind of wanted to clear that up before I read the email. Hi, Lo. I'm Polly, the fall lover, but you can just call me Polly. I'm from Greece, and I wanted to say how your show helps me with not being sad. It feels like I'm there. Makes me feel like I'm a part of something. And here is some of my fan art from a game called Hollow Knight. Oh, I know what Hollow Knight is. I think my husband has played it or still plays it. I've been doing art for a while now. Even if it's bad, I still like it. At any chance, can I have a reference so I can attempt to draw you? Sorry if I sent 2 emails. I tried to delete the other one. I did see the other emails and I didn't delete them. I just kind of kept them there. But oh yeah, they also said something about their spelling. Don't worry if you guys can't, if you're not that great at spelling like me, don't ever feel bad about emailing in and not feeling like you can't spell. I may poke fun oh my God, I couldn't read this email. But overall, I'll never call you out personally and say that you're an awful writer. I'll still read it to the best I can and don't ever feel bad about not having the spelling right. Most chances, 99% of the time, we can read the email. And if we can't, then we'll email you back and try to get more of an understanding. But that rarely happens. In their sense of art, I know that a lot of people feel like, oh, my art's not the greatest. And of course, you as an artist, you're going to be your own biggest critic, but then you're going to also try to compare yourself to other people out there. And you just can't do that. You need to compare yourself to yourself. And you got to constantly work on your artwork and do better. You can do classes. You can look at online free classes and drawing techniques. Go out there, buy a book, get those types of things. And you learn to do that over and over and over again. Felix, I know, practices every day, even if it's for a few minutes, but his art has always progressed. I know from the day I met him to seeing his sketches, to seeing him drawing, to now where he's doing digital and he's starting to do commissions. I'm not saying he fully is accepting them all, but he's started to do like one or two. And it's really great to see him develop. We'll say from the very beginning, because his art, in my opinion, has always been top notch. And I think anyone in any case, whether you're just starting out, your art is top notch. It should always be top notch to you. And your advice to yourself should be, I can always improve, but my art is the best that I can produce right now. And you should be proud of that. Like anyone should be proud of that. So I'll send him my reference and I'll send him Sparrow's reference too. And then we'll go from there. So that's it. That's all the emails. Wow, that was a lot of emails. And I can't believe I read through all of them. Yay. Quick announcement about young furries. So I want to do an episode talking about young furries and also maybe doing some interviews of young furries, whether that be through email or through actual like verbal contact. If you're interested in doing that, I do want to set a policy up. I want to make sure that it is, if we're going to do a verbal, like we're talking together, I want to make sure that it is okay with your parents. And if so, I'll come up with a consent form, but I do need to make sure that your parents are okay with it if you're under the age of 17, just because I want to make sure that I'm not overstepping any boundaries. If you're on the verge of turning 18, like you're only a couple months away, I'll let it slide. But if you're younger than that, it gets a little bit different. So from an email standpoint, if you want to email us your perspective of the fandom, what you feel, what you've experienced, I'd love to read those because that gives us a better idea of how to cater content to you, but also to let other people in the fandom who would be listening know that it's probably similar or something they can look into. If you're interested in doing a verbal or a recording, then we would need to talk further and I need to make sure that it's okay with your parents and or at least speak with your parents to make sure it's okay. I know that can be a little iffy, but that's where I stand on that. I just need to be careful. When you do send the email, do the subject line young furries. So I know that it's specifically for that. And I have a folder set up in my email. So that way, when those do come in, they should be automatically funneled to that young furries, or I'll move them over to young furries folder. But anyways, thanks for listening in. And as usual, you guys know that you can email us like I've just talked about. Email is talktothemuzzle@gmail.com. That information is also available in the description below, depending on how you see the description. We also have a Telegram group. I'll link that below as well. We have a Twitter @FromTheMuzzle. I don't know why I didn't just do straight from the muzzle. I just thought it was easier to say from the muzzle. Kind of is. You can tweet us there if you want to. Send us a message if you have questions, or you just want to tell your story and you want it to be written, or not written. If you want it to be read out loud on the air, feel free to send us a message, either via Twitter, Telegram, or email us. And I'd be more than happy to read that out loud and answer your questions. As always, big thanks to everyone. And I look forward to our next episode of Spaced Out, which should be in November. So have a great day, you guys, and we'll see you next time.